Welcome back to another episode of Taking Lunch with Korben London, where I spend about 30 minutes on my lunch break talking with people who haven't really made it yet, but are on their way. Today, big guest, I have Brent McCoy out of Texas. He's a producer, he's a director, he's a writer, he's an actor. He's a lot of things. You're a creative, right? You do a lot of things, but you're a creative. So I appreciate you for coming on. Looking forward to hearing, about how you got into where you are now.
Well, thank you for having me, man. I'm really, like I said, once again, really excited. Yes, Brent McCoy out of Houston, Texas. This is where I'm based out of right now. And like you said, producer, director, actor, writer. I do it all in filmmaking. That's what I do.
So that's a lot of different things. Producer, director, writer. That's a lot of different buckets, a lot of different hats that you wear. Which is the kind of the biggest one, or the one that sort of started you on this journey?
The biggest hat for me currently is probably producer, director, right? So a lot of the projects that we get, I'm normally the one that's client facing and having to talk to, whether it be an artist, whether it be a brand or a small business, and having to put these commercial films together. And then when it comes time to be on set, shoot day, it's also my job to direct the shoot, directing the talent, making sure that my director of photography has a shot list, a treatment, and all of that stuff. So I would say those are my biggest two buckets right now, but that's not how I got started. I got started doing everything. So in filmmaking, you get a camera, you got to do it all. You got to be the producer, the director, the writer, the editor, which is the worst part to me. But when you start out, you have to do it all. And what I started to notice after doing quite a few projects was I don't enjoy all of this, right? There's certain things that I'm better at than others. And I feel like there are people I can find that can supplement those things that I'm maybe not as good at or not as passionate about. So I started to figure out ways to funnel myself down the director route. That's my favorite position, to be more in charge of the shoots and be able to put more of my energy and attention into what is my talent doing? How's the camera moving? Are the frames looking good? Making sure the client is happy, because when you're doing it all, it's kind of hard to check in with them while you're shooting. So I had to really take time and sit back and really think about, like, okay, how can I delegate some of these jobs? Because I am a perfectionist. So how do I delegate some of these jobs and be able to put myself in a position to do the one true job that I really love on set, which is directing.
Directing. Okay, so what really started this out for, whether you're a kid, you're in high school, like this is a very creative route to take. You're not crunching numbers, you're not reading textbooks, like you're out in the field, you're working, you know what I'm saying? You're using what you think is right. So sort of take me back to the beginning. What sort of got you started on this path?
It's kind of funny because I never would have thought I would be doing this. I am a numbers guy. I grew up very good at math, English, that type of stuff. And I was a swimmer. So I swam my entire life. And coming out of high school, I had a decision to make whether or not I wanted to swim in college or kind of go the coaching route. So I tried to swim for 2 years at West Virginia University. Once I finished that up, I went right into coaching. So athletics is really where I was for the longest period of time. Once I was moved here to Houston with Lifetime Athletic, the gym, I met some people who were doing photography, and they were pretty cool people, and they wanted me to come do it with them. So I was like, why not? Let me see what this, let me see what all the hype is about. I didn't like it. I did not enjoy photography. And I bought a camera actually to do YouTube, to make motivational videos. And when I started shooting these videos, people wanted to pay me to do it. So I was like, okay, maybe there's, some side money in here, right? Maybe it could be like a little side hustle. So I started shooting videos for people, and one thing led to another, and I wanted to get better. And I found this burning desire to just want to tell stories. Like, I've always loved movies and films and stuff. I never really saw myself behind the camera, though. If I would have thought anything as a child, it would have been acting. But I didn't realize how much I wanted to control the entire process, how much, input I wanted to have into everything, until people started paying me to do it. And in order to get better, you have to learn different parts of the art, and you have to bring other people in to do things that you can't. So that was kind of how it started for me. And that's why I'm at where I'm at today.
So as the motivational speaker piece, I mean, to be a motivational speaker, you got to have knowledge, you got to have wisdom, got to have stories. What sort of, pushed you in that direction? What sort of life events or, experiences made you be comfortable in motivating people? That's a tough thing to be able to do, right? To sit down and talk to someone and get them to rise to action or to change their actions. What sort of led you to being able to possess those skills to do it, and to do it well enough to where someone will pay you for it?
Honestly, for me, it really just came from my day-to-day interactions with people. I'm very interested and kind of nerdy about the psychology of people. And the way I go about learning that is just through having as many interactions as I can. So when I do this, I'm very observant and I like to just watch how people move, watch how people interact in certain circumstances. And over time, I just became a person who, within multiple different groups of people, was the guy that everyone came to for advice, that came to, bounce their ideas off of, to get some criticism, to talk to and really figure out like, hey, am I on the right track? And over time, I was just like, okay, maybe let me try to put these in video form. Now, at that time, I wasn't too tech savvy with the social media and stuff. So pushing the content wasn't the greatest. And that's what kind of led me to my podcast now, having the different types of conversations that I have with people. These are conversations I have on a daily. I'm a type of person who hates small talk. I love to get into the deep, meaty stuff. And I love having conversations with people with differing opinions because I'm a person who I love to listen. I don't like to judge. I like to hear where you're coming from and try to understand that. And that gives me a little bit of a better perspective when people are coming to me asking for advice or trying to bounce ideas. So that's kind of how I got to that.
And how does that, right? You're saying you like to listen, you like to include people's thoughts, you like to, share things. How can you apply that to your career as a director now? Do you see that sort of trickling over and making your job maybe a little easier?
100%. So the reason why I choose to brand myself as a storyteller, as opposed to, there's a lot of people who do videos that are very visually pleasing and they have the effects and stuff. My niche is storytelling and pace. And the flip side of what I do gives me an interesting perspective as to what do people want on an emotional level, right? What will they connect to? And that makes it a lot easier for me to write a story because I can understand like, okay, if we're writing a story about depression, I've talked to this many people who are going through these certain things. So now I kind of have a better sense of what I need to put into this film so that they can connect to it. And for me, that is the biggest link that I love in directing. When we make a piece that moves someone, even if it's just one person, if I get a DM or a text or a call and it's just like, yo, that piece you just put out, I felt it. Job well done for me. That's all we need is that one person to be like, I connected to that. And for me, I love it.
Awesome. Okay. And what's one of those pieces, that someone's DM'd you about or hit you up, something maybe that you're proud of that you can share here that you put all your effort into and it kind of came to fruition?
It's funny, the project that has done that the most, it was actually our first ever short film. We released it January 2019. I acted in it, directed, wrote, everything. Um, and it was about, the premise was pretty much like an older brother who was taking care of his younger brother through hard times. That was pretty much the premise of it. And I was getting messages from like 40-year-old single mothers and people just being like, wow, like I really understood what you were going through, trying to hide the circumstances and still keep putting on a good face for the child. So that one was the one that really got the biggest reception as far as like a feeling standpoint from all of our productions, in my opinion.
Awesome. That's incredible. So with these sort of movies, these films that you're doing, are they self-funded? Are you reaching out to people to help put up the money? Because my interpretation of sort of what you do is you got to buy the camera, right? You got to
Right.
put the money in, make sure you have the lenses and things like that. So for someone who is sort of self-starting like yourself, who's creating, who's directing, like how do you afford it, right? Not in a sense of like, you're losing a bunch of money, but do you have to go out and sort of bet on yourself and maybe buy a camera and not go out for the next 2-3 weekends to save up money, or how does that work?
I will say this is one of the most expensive careers to get started in my opinion. Um, I did start on my phone, right? So I did start out filming on my phone, but we're talking about people who actually want to take it serious. Yeah, I did. We do sacrifice a lot in order to get the gear that we need. Now, we could go the route of trying to get people to invest in all of that, but then you take on the risk of other opinions, other input, other people wanting to have a say. So we've kind of chosen the slow but steady route with us having all of the control, right? So we get to dictate what type of things we put out. That way we're branded a certain way. So yes, that is very true. We do take our time, and it was very methodical to get to the point where we're at now. We didn't always start on cinema cameras. Like I said, I didn't always have someone to hold the camera for me. I started off with a T7i. It was a $500 camera that came with the mic on top and all that, didn't have flat picture profiles or anything fancy. And I just learned the craft. I think more than anything, people need to learn the craft, learn how to tell a story. People will watch, you would be surprised. People will watch some very low quality video footage if the story's great enough, right? Learn audio. People will listen to something that with great audio, but they will watch something with terrible visuals, but not vice versa. If your audio sucks, then you're out the game. It doesn't matter how great you can have 4K, 6K, 8K, doesn't matter. Learn lighting. That's a cheap tip right there. If you learn how to light a scene better, you don't need a better camera because lighting is everything. So for me, the biggest thing that we've put a lot of emphasis on and probably the most money is education. If we see a course that we feel is valuable, we'll buy into it, right? We spend money on booking studios and booking shoots on our own time. So that way, when the big ones come, we're good. We have all of our steps locked in. That's our practice, right? So to speak. And now those are the things that I think people overlook. They're just like, no, I want somebody to pay me today. Well, in this industry, you have to show it first. They have to see you can do it, then they'll pay you to do it. That's how it works. So yeah, it's an expensive industry to get started in, but if you have the passion behind it and you really want to do it, it's not as crazy as it might sound.
Okay, that's good to hear. You speak on the passion. I can sort of feel the passion that you have for it sort of come through the screen right now. Where did that passion come from? How do you sort of have that drive to wake up? I mean, I see you on TikTok putting up videos that are going viral because the way that you communicate with the people, your actors and things like that, makes me feel like I could get Denzel Washington on and act in there too. So
Yeah.
everything you do, based off what I've seen in your podcast, I've watched multiple episodes, what I've seen, what you've put out, that passion just sort of oozes out of you. It's right there and it's in your face. How did you find that? How did that sort of come about?
It's kind of crazy because I think my overall passion is just helping people, right? And creating things that move individuals, whether that be a podcast, whether that's a talk show, whether it's a movie, a documentary or a commercial. I love getting those goosebumps. You ever listen to a song and you're just like, yo, this is hitting to a point where I feel it.
Right.
And I love being a part of those processes. The reason why the TikToks are doing so well and the behind the scenes does so well is because I genuinely love being on set, right? There are times when, well, there's a lot of times actually when me actually being on set and going through the process of a shoot matters way more to me than the end result, right? It matters way more than what the video turns out looking like because I just truly love the camaraderie, right? The teamwork. It's me going from sports, and this is now, in my opinion, another sport. Everybody has their role, and we're all trying to get it in. But for me, the biggest thing is, as a director, the cool part about it is you do get to help everyone. You're everyone's go-to person. They come to ask you for help. You get to have a hand in everything and be everyone's support at the same time. So that way, when this big, beautiful thing comes together, like you knew it was going to hit. You knew it was going to be what it was, right? And that for me feeds that passion for helping people. I love taking creators who maybe were very small and giving them a platform to help grow their skill set and become, come into our fold and help us now create even more beautiful projects, because 3 people at an expert level is going to be better than just me. And that's the part that I love is sharing the growth. I love communicating with people on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, wherever, and just helping. I love it.
That's awesome. And I mean, it can't all be great though, right? Every shot you take, I'm not too, hip to like the terminology or whatever in the industry, but it can't all be picture perfect quality, top of the line. So in terms of like dealing with failure, right? Whatever it may be, you forgot a microphone or you didn't turn this setting on, or it didn't turn out the way you wanted. How do you sort of deal with that and get better? Because I feel like a lot of people, regardless of the industry that you're in, failure is sort of one of those things that you shy away from, right? One of those things that you don't try to confront. Now, maybe in what you do, that failure may be a little bit more apparent, a little bit more visual, because that's what you do. You work in the visuals and the audio and things like that. So when it comes to those opportunities where you don't hit the mark, right, where you miss a little bit, how do you sort of deal with that, and how do you make sure that you don't make the same mistakes moving forward?
It's funny you say that, right? And I'm glad we got to this. I heard a quote from like a really famous director, and he said, one thing you have to understand is that every project is going to break your heart at some point. Filmmaking is 0% perfect. It's never perfect. There has never been a time when we were on set and it all went to plan, right? It's one of those things where you plan because things are going to go wrong. And my biggest thing is this, right? And this is to all those who are wanting to be a director, right? Wanting to be at that part of the filmmaking triangle. You don't always have to know exactly which way that is the right way. You just have to be definitive, right? And calm. So I'm always calm on set, even when I've been on set where multiple actors didn't show up. We had to pivot an entire storyline mid shoot, right? But the biggest thing is if I'm calm, everybody else is calm, and I trust in the training and the practice and everything that we did that we're still going to make something amazing happen. The moment I panic, everyone now panics, and whether we wanted to or not, we're not going to be able to get close to something good. So my biggest thing is staying prepared, right? And then being calm on set. And then the last piece is just being very definitive, right? I can't be, time is money on set. So I can't be all over the place. If something goes wrong, all right, boom, we're going this way, let's get it. I don't have to know that I'm going the perfect direction. I have to choose a direction though. And then we have to go. So failure is there all the time. We have had some nightmare sets and we're still able to pull off some really good products because, like I said, we put in that work beforehand to make sure that as a team, even when shit hits the fan, we can still pull out an amazing product. And I think that's where people kind of mess up, is they're not prepared when the failure happens, right? We just kind of throw something out there and we just hope it goes viral or we hope it does great. Well, that's not always going to be the case. In fact, that's rarely ever the case. Overnight success is not really overnight. There's a lot of work that goes behind that. So for us, it is getting repetitions with one another, making sure that me as a director, I know how my DP needs to be communicated to. I know how this actor needs to be communicated to, and me having a full understanding of the project. Because if I have a full understanding of the project and something goes wrong, I can pivot. If I didn't prepare beforehand though, and something goes wrong, that goes from a 1 to a 50. And that's the biggest thing, preparedness. Just be prepared because trust me, things will go wrong. It's not a guess. I know things will go wrong. This is filmmaking.
And you keep saying we and us. So it sounds like there's a strong team behind you. You're not taking all the credit. I mean, yes, you're the director, but it sounds like you have a supportive team around you. And I know you started up or you have your own sort of production company. Talk a little bit about that and the power, I guess, of surrounding yourself with good people, because no matter what you do, it seems like you can't do it alone. Right. And it seems like the way you talk, we, us, ours, these words that you're using, sounds like you got a good squad behind you.
Oh yeah, so I'm nothing without my team. I am nothing without my team. And like I said, this is me moving from one sport to the next. LeBron can't play 1-on-5, right? As great as he is, he can't play 1-on-5. And I believe the same about filmmaking. And I'll use me and my partner as an example. So he's typically the one holding the camera. So if you ever see my behind the scenes, he's the one holding the camera. I am very analytically minded, right? I'm very numbers, very structured, very much businessy. And he's the more creative person, right? He can see creative vision. 9 times out of 10, when I come up with something with a client, he's the one that figures out how we're going to make it happen on a camera, right? That's his job. And without that, we wouldn't be half the team that we are, right? It takes that because I can't do it all. I can't crunch the numbers, quote the people, book the stuff, and figure out how it's going to look at the same time, right? And so that's where it kind of comes into play. And when you go deeper than that, then you start having people who are in charge of lighting, right? I can't think through the lighting the whole time through. And the more eyes you have on it, right? And the more succinct you guys get on what a good image looks like, I'm telling you, it's very hard to put out something bad, because if I'm not, on my A game, I know Shad's going to be right there like, yo, maybe we shouldn't shoot this shot this way. We should kind of move it. I don't like what the background is doing. Because I'm moving through all these other things. Somebody just asked me a question about lighting. We're trying to figure out where the food's at. And you're like, nope, let's shift this a little to the left because the sun's going to hit better. And with those little adjustments is what separates amateur from pro. Honestly, it's little things, it's little attention to detail stuff that you can't do as one person. And that's why I never enjoyed shooting by myself. I would always get home and wish I had someone who could see this or see that. And for me, I don't mind sacrificing money for that. I don't mind paying someone and I don't get paid on a shoot just so that we can get it right. So that when that big one comes, I know I have the right squad. So yeah, it's a very selfless thing, especially starting a production company, because if you're at the top, you will sacrifice a lot, but the work is going to sell itself at some point.
And with that production, and it's great to hear that you have sort of those multiple eyes, right? To where you don't want to be spread too thin. That's one of the things that I'm learning as I have these conversations is like, while it's good to be good at a lot of things, at the end of the day, if you're over here, you're over there, you're up and you're down, you're not gonna be able to direct, all of your energy to the place that's important. So with where you're at now with the production company with your partner, you said Shad, is that what you said?
Shad, SHAD,
Shad.
yeah.
So where are you at with Shad and your production company? What are you guys trying to strive to? What are you going towards? What's that goal, that North Star that's going to say, I made it, or I'm successful, or I can hang up my cleats because I did what I wanted to do? What is that?
Well, it's going to be different for both of us, but I'll say what it is for me. I personally want to create a business, right? I want this business to get to the point where I can help filmmakers monetize their dreams, right? I love working with smaller filmmakers and helping them get to a point where they can kill it, helping them get into the commercial space. Me personally, I want to work with the Nikes, the Adidas's, the Under Armours, but I want to bring other people up with me, right? This industry, it is one that is very hard to go from zero to making decent money to where you can do it full time, because everyone's all, they want you to do free stuff. They want you to bargain with me here, bargain with me there. And I want to be able to create something that's an institution where people can come in and know that A, your skill set is going to improve. B, we're not trying to lock you in and contract you in for life, but I do want to help people get that skill set to where they can monetize it, because I do believe that video is the future. And I do believe that it is worth more than what it's selling at this point. There's a lot that goes into this. And there's tons of information out there. I'm a YouTube University graduate myself with all this filmmaking stuff, but I love to be hands-on. I love to teach. So I want to get us to a point where we're working on high-level commercials, even some film stuff, and then passing that to the next, to the next gen, to the next crop of people coming up. That's fulfilling for me.
And to work with Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, to be producing commercials and things like that, strip away the technical aspects of what that means as a director. What sort of traits, sort of qualities, sort of things do you have to do or to be good at in order to achieve those goals that maybe someone who's not in film, someone who's in business, or someone who's starting their own company, whatever it may be, stripping away the technical aspects, how do you see yourself being able to achieve those dreams or those goals?
So a lot of it right now is visibility, right? So the social media piece, I was very reluctant to post on TikTok. I just started about 8 days ago. So that's going to help with visibility. Also, and this is across the board, I'm pretty sure for all industries, is just one, availability, right? And then two, it's reputation. Reputation is huge, 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 huge in this industry. So the more people that you're working with and you're, rubbing elbows with, you never know who has a contact where, right? I've met so many people that I would have never thought worked for, like yourself, the Clippers, or for, this company or that company. And the goal is to get in as many of those ears as possible. And the networking piece, right? That's something I'm constantly trying to get better at. As a creative, you focus so much on beautiful image, but then you got to figure out, okay, how am I going to get this in front of the people I need to see it? So the networking piece is probably the biggest, I would say, opportunity for us right now. Just really trying to figure out how to articulate this to people who maybe are not in our space and don't think about things super technical. They're just like, how can this make Nike more money? How can this make Nike's brand look better? That's all they care about. And how do we communicate that to them, that we are the people who can do that? So I think the networking piece and just figuring out how to communicate your product to its intended audience is probably the two things that we're working on the most right now.
Awesome, man. That's a solid piece of advice. Being able to network. And on one of my previous episodes, a lot of the networking pieces, just sending a DM, like similar to what I did with you, just sent you a DM, right? A lot of people, they check their messages unless you're, verified, you got millions of followers and things like that. It seems like sending out a tweet or an email or a DM may seem nerve-wracking, right? You're afraid of the rejection, you're afraid of getting left on red or whatever it may be. What it sounds like to you is just take the shot, and you never know sort of what will come from it.
I'm big on the DMs. Actually, I have a pretty good DM rate, and you're right. They do read it. And if you have the the content and the following to back it up, and they go see like what they see, 9 times out of 10 you'll get a response. It might not always be the response you want, but like you said, you miss every shot you don't take. So gotta try it.
Absolutely. And then, so right now, I'm on Friday, whatever it is. I don't even know what day it is, to be completely honest with you. But what are you working on? Like, what's taking up your day? What's taking up your time? Before this and after this, what are you thinking about? How are you going about your days right now in that new project or the current project, whatever it may be?
So right now, what's taking up the most of my time is I'm taking on a business coaching class. So I'm in coaching right now to really structuralize the business, right? As an entrepreneur, right? As someone who's kind of starting something from scratch, you can get all over the place, right? Oh, this is important. This is important. This is important. And I'm really working on refining what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I do allocate a little bit of time to prospecting new projects, team building, trying to make sure that I set up some stuff for my team and I to get more repetitions in and try new things, right? That way we have more stuff. I do prospecting calls. So I'm the one who, when someone wants to book with us, I'm on the phone with them trying to figure out what it is that they need. But the biggest thing right now is structuring this business, right? Getting it to a point where it's very scalable and to where we're more visible, right? Visibility has been my biggest thing. That's why I hopped on TikTok, to try to see like, okay, everyone's telling me there's something out here. What's out here? And I've met you. So the visibility is probably my biggest thing right now, and not just staying in our little box of creating cool stuff that only like 5 people see.
Right. Awesome. All right. I mean, that's all great information. The last thing I guess I'll ask you, Brent, lunch break here, unfortunately, is is ending for me. Got to get back
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
clock. But when it's all said and done, how do you want to be defined? How do you want to be known as in the industry? Not even in the industry, but just as a person, as a creator. What's gonna make you smile and say, okay, I'm glad people know this about me?
Hmm. What I want people to know the most about me is, well, not even about me. What I want people to learn from me, right? And from the things that I do is that everyone has a story that's worth telling, and everyone has a story that's worth listening to. And if we as humanity could just be a little bit better at listening to people and trying to understand where they're coming from, trying to understand a different perspective, then I truly believe that we'll be better people. So I want people to take from me that it's not always about you, right? You don't have to take everything so personally. And sometimes, if we just listen a little bit better and we're open to receiving certain messages, our minds may not be changed, but you might just understand a little bit better why that person over there feels the way they do. And that everything that I do is centered around that.
That's perfect. Awesome. I mean, that's a great way to leave it off. Listening, the power of listening is a big thing. Something that I'm trying to work on, every single day here. And I'm glad I was able to jump on with you. I mean, being able to learn about your journey and your career, not only sort of what it takes to sort of run the show, because at the end of the day, everyone wants to be the guy or be the girl, right? They want to be on top. They want to run it. But it was nice to spend a little bit of time with you, just hearing that it's not just about saying action. It's not just about pointing people and telling them where to go. There's a lot more that sort of comes along with it.
I really appreciate you having me on, man. This was a great conversation, great podcast. I love the format. I love what you got going on here, man. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And thanks for coming on. And I mean, I'm a big fan. I'm going to follow you on TikTok. I'm going to throw you likes and comments and shares and everything like that. But best
Appreciate
of
it.
luck to you, Brent. I hope to see you, achieve, all those things that you want to achieve. And again, thank you for jumping on with me.
Thank you. I'll see you later.
All right, man.